Okay, we're back for part 2 here. So the simple interest formula, and simple interest means that our interest is just being calculated one time every year, and it's always for the original amount. I represents interest. We have this equation here, this formula. I equals P times R times T. Interest is the extra money that you either earn or have to pay. P is what we call principal. Principal is the amount you start with. Principal is the starting amount. So that's the amount that you invest or that you borrow. R is the rate, is the interest rate. Now the rate is always given as a percentage, but in the formula we have to change that to a decimal. Okay, so you always change that to a decimal. And then T is the amount of time, and that's in terms of years. T is the time in years. So when we calculate interest, we have interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. Okay, and it's just multiplication. So in number 2, let's do some examples. Calculate the interest for each situation. The principal, so let's say the starting amount is $360, the rate is 5%, and we're going to have this for 2 years. So I equals, and we'll take P times R. Now the rate, 5% is 0.05. We have to shift the decimal 2 places, and then T is 2. And now it's just a calculation problem. 360 times 0.05 times 2, and that is going to be $36. So the interest is $36. Okay, let's go to part C here. So I'm going to skip some of these and you can fill in the ones that we don't do. The principal is $285, the rate is 3%, and the time is for 4 years. All right, so interest, I, equals 285 times 0.03 times 4. Now again, you can go through the multiplication, and what you get is $34.20. $34.20. So the interest is 34.20. Now this represents the extra money that you're either going to have to pay or that you're going to be earning. Number 3, calculate the ending balance, the total amount for each situation. So in part A, let's calculate, we have principal, rate, and time. So interest is equal to principal times the rate, that's 0.06, times the time, which is 4 years. That would give us $40.80. Now that's the interest. What we want is the total amount. So the ending balance. Balance is the amount you have. I'm going to use A for the word amount. So the amount would be your original starting amount, which is 170. That's the principal. Add the interest, and what we get is $210.80. That is the amount. So if you're trying to figure out your balance, how much you have at the end of the period of time, you have to take the principal and you have to add all your interest in, and we get $210.80. Let's take part C, principal, rate, and time. So the interest is 548 times 0.02. Now the time is just 1 year, so multiply by 1. That gives us $10.96. So what would be the end balance? What would be the total amount? Well, what did we start with? 548 plus 1096 of interest. Add those together, and what we have is $558.96. So let's do a couple of word problems now. Let's take number 4. You have to read these very carefully to make sure you know exactly what they're asking for. how much interest does a $482 investment earn at 5% over 3 years? Focus on the numbers. The investment, 482, that's your principal. That's our starting amount. 5% is the rate. 3 years is the time. Now the question though is how much interest does that earn? So all we need to do, we're going to do I equals principal times the rate, 5% is 0.05, times the time, which is 3. And if we calculate all of that, we will get $72.30. Now what does that represent? That is the interest. It doesn't ask for the final amount, the overall amount, so we're not going to add that. We can stop right there. Number 5, if you invest $823, that's the principal, at an interest rate of 3%, that's the rate, how much money will you have after 9 years? So the time is 9 years. Now the question is, how much money will you have? So now we're looking for the total amount. First thing we need, let's figure out the interest. So take the principal, 823, times the rate, 0.03, times the time, which is 9 years. We're going to multiply that, and we get $222.21. A lot of twos there. Don't stop here, though. That's interest. What we want is the overall amount. The amount is to take the principal, what you started with, and let's add in the interest, and what we get is $1,045.21. So this is the power of investing with interest, is that, okay, we put in $823. Now we had to wait 9 years, but at the end of 9 years, now it's worth $1,045. So the money has grown. Let's take number 6. How long, now that's time, must $542 be invested, that's the P, principal, at a rate of 7%, there's the R, to earn $303.52 in interest? So this time they're actually telling us what the interest is. Here's the principal, so we know the end amount of interest, but we don't know how long it was. So we're going to make the equation. We're going to do I equals P, I'll just write it again, times R times T. Now the I, 303.52, equals, the principal is 542, times the rate, 0.07, times the time, which we don't know. So in this equation, the missing variable here is the T. So we need to do some work here. First thing I'll do, let's take 542 and multiply that by 0.07. And that gives us 37.94. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my equation. We have 303.52 equals 37.94 times T. Now we're solving for T, that's the variable. It's multiplying 37.94. So to undo that, we're going to divide by 37.94. And now it becomes a calculator problem. Again, 303.52 divided by 37.94 equals, now we get 8. Okay, so T is equal to 8. T is equal to 8. Now what does that represent though? You got to think about this. T is the time, so 8, it's not 8%, it's not $8, this is 8 years. It's really important as you do these problems that you understand what is it that we're actually finding. Which variable does that represent? Let's do one more here. We'll do 7. What was the interest rate? So I think that's going to be our variable R. If your balance on an investment of $857, The investment was $857. That's your principal. At the end of 6 years, that's the time, is $1,268.36. So what was the interest rate if your balance on an investment of $857 at the end of 6 years is $1,268.36? Okay, so here's the thing. I equals P times R times T. We know the principal, that's the starting investment, was $857. We don't know the interest rate, that's going to be the variable R. So say times R. We do know that the time is 6 years. But if I multiply this, what I'm getting is the interest. $1,268 is not the interest. That is the balance at the end of 6 years. That's the total amount. That is A. So if I want to calculate the interest, because I need to know what this number is, let's take the final amount, 1268.36, and let's subtract out the initial investment, the principal, which was $857. So this is where we finished, this is where we started, and the difference would be your interest. So if we subtract that, 1268.36 minus 857 is equal to 411.36. So our interest is $411.36. Okay, so let's continue the equation here. 411.36 equals, I'm going to multiply 857 times 6. And if we do that, we get 5,142. So that would be 5,142 times the rate. Now I need to move that 5,142. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide by 5142. So what we'll do is we'll take 411.36, that's the top number, divided by 5,142, and what we get is 0.08. That actually worked out really nicely. So 0.08, now that's R. But when you talk about the rate, we talk about that as a percentage. So this is the decimal value. Shift the decimal 2 places to the right, and what we get is 8%. That was your interest rate. Okay, and we're going to stop there.